Hi, I'm following along with Paul McWhorter's Raspberry Pi Pico W lessons. We're on number 76, where we're homework was to use our IR remote to do something useful. And the idea was is to enter numbers to move a servo to a certain angle position, 0 to 180. So I show you my homework for this week. So got the homework here. Most of it's the same as last week, so I'm not going to go over too much. Again, I'm using my pin 18 to power my IR receiver, so I don't have to use any wiring at all like I did before. This week we're doing the servo, so we had to import servo. We got setting up our servo here. Um, because I'm only using numbers, I decided to make my uh, uh, dictionary for decoding the numbers to give us realistic numbers or real numbers that we can use. I'm only detecting 0 through 9. I only have them in my dictionary. Again, I got some information in a um, dictionary here to store our numbers, our info that we need globally here as well in between our key presses on our IR remote. Um, Down here, I got the setting up the IR, and we're using IR num entry as our callback. So I will get into that in a second. Doing our normal stuff down here, and Paul showed us how that we can, if we have um, our flags for, when our time to get our value, that we can go down here and we can, in our while true, we can wait for our value ready to be true. So we'll do that in a second too. So on our callback, all we're doing is uh, every time you get a number press, you're going to get this. So what we're doing is we're seeing if our number is in our dictionary. So we're only reacting to 0 through 9. We're as far as getting numbers there. And all we're doing is we're putting it into adding it to our string over here and just keep numbers. So if I press a 1 and I press a 8 and I press a 0, then the string will be 180 up here. So we got that going on right there with that. We're also looking for the mute key because I'm using the mute key as our enter button. So instead of doing a start and a stop like we did with Paul last week, I'm entering numbers like you would do keyboard entry. So if I want, you know, 0 degrees, I just press 0 and then the mute button and it'll go to 0 degrees. And um, we're not looking at any other buttons. Like I said, I'm just uh, using number 71 there to get that. Um, like last week, I'm changing numbers into our string of numbers into an int and doing that. I put this in a try and accept because if you hit the uh, mute button before you enter any numbers, this is going to fail. So I put it in a try accept and said, yeah, no numbers were entered, so it doesn't work. Um, this will also catch it if you decide to press like the uh, power button or the fast forward or rewind button and then hit it. It without doing any numbers. It's only going to capture numbers, so we're good there. And if it's not a number, then it's going to say no number entered. Um, we're, Once we get our numbers, we're turning it into an integer and we're storing it in our dictionary. We're setting our num string back to the empty string, and we're saying that value ready is true, so that in our main program down here, we can uh, check it out and use and be ready to use it. So that's all that callback's doing. And down here, we're in our main program. We're waiting for that for that value ready to become true, and we're immediately setting it back to false so that we can start collecting numbers again. Um, we're double checking that the value is between 0 and 180. And if it is, we're setting the servo position and we're printing moving servo, moving to whatever number we got. If the number doesn't fall into that range, we're saying number is not between 0 and 180. We're doing our normal thing down here, so we're good. So let's get this running. And like I said, I got a little servo here with a thing on it. And let's start off with 0. I'm hitting the 0 button and then the mute button. And it moved to the 0 position. Now if I go 9-0 and then mute, it's going to the 90 position. If I go 1-8-0, it's going there. Now, if I put in 200, you can see down in the shell that it's printing out what the things are. But if I go 200, then it's going to go, well, actually, I hit 288. I wasn't watching what I was doing. 288 is not between 0 and 180. In the same way, I haven't entered any numbers. If I hit the mute again, it's going to say no number was entered. So that's it. And if I want to go back to 0, we can go 0 and enter and move into 0 position. So everything's working and it's pretty much error corrected and we got it good to go there. So if all you're interested in is seeing how I did my homework, that's fine. But I did a little extra credit. We've been dealing with kind of ignoring the -1 repeat button. And um, I just want to show how that can be put to use. We know we use it when we have a regular remote on the TV. If we want to increase the volume, we just hold down the plus, and we want to decrease the volume, we hold down the minus, and it's going to gradually go down. Um, that's the reason that that's on the remotes, and we can use that the same way to increment and decrement our servo. So I made a little code to just capture the plus and the minus on our remote control. So let's go back up to the top of the, I'll stop our program so we can get, so we're doing the same thing. Uh, our normal stuff here, our servo setup. I did in the last couple videos I've done, I did the a dictionary to store global variables, and it works fine. But I wanted to show a different way on here. So a couple 2 or 3 weeks ago, I did a video where you can create a class that just holds our variables, and this class is available globally as well. And rather than having the brackets and the quote marks around your keys and everything that you do in a dictionary, this is just going to be, you put in the class name and then a dot and then your variable. So it's iri.current, iri.pause. So just a different way of doing it. And you can see that that's how I used it down there. Like I say, we set up the servo and we're setting it to 0. We set the position here in our class to 0 initial position, and we can change all this anytime. But it's 0 now, so we're setting our servo when we start our pause. Also, our decode, our dictionary for what we're doing. Only thing we're caring about is the plus and the minus, and we're also checking the repeat key as well. So we're saying if it's a -1, we know it's a repeat. So anything else is going to be ignored on our callback function. So we're only worried about those. Down here, it's the same thing. Because all we're doing is setting the servo position, another change I made here is rather than worry about doing anything in the while true, we're just every time you're getting something from the IO remote, whether it's a plus or a minus or it's a repeat, we're just changing the position and setting the uh, position of the servo. So it really didn't matter too much. So let's get up here to our, so we don't have anything down there. So we're going to go, all our work is happening in our callback. So the only thing we're doing, we're just asking if it's a minus, if our data coming back is a minus, then we're setting a current value in our class variable up here to minus. And we're setting the IR position to, we're subtracting one from our IR position or subtracting whatever value up here from our IR position. So at this point, we got 5 in it. So we're using 5 up there. I'll explain why we come up with 5 instead of 1 in a minute. Same way, we're doing the exact same thing. If it's a plus, then we're just setting our current to plus, and then we're doing our adding 1 to the IOR position, or adding 5 to our IOR position. Then we come down to our repeat. So if we hold down the plus or the minus, then we're getting a repeat key. So we're getting a -1. But we had to know that what key we're holding down. So if you're holding down the minus, first thing it's going to do is give you a minus. That's why we're setting the current position up here to either minus or plus, so that we know what we're repeating. And just a repeat key doesn't tell you what you're repeating. It just says you were repeating whatever you're holding down last. So we had to have a current variable for that in between these holds that value. And so we know we got to repeat. So what we're doing is then we have to check, well, was it a minus or was it a plus? Now, of course, if it's a minus, we're subtracting 1 from IR position. If it's a plus, we're adding 1 to it. Same way down there. And then finally, at the bottom of this, we're doing this min-max thing to find out if to keep our IR position in bounds. So if you hold your button down on a plus or a minus, it's going to go either over 180 or it's going to try to go under 0. And this just keeps it in bounds so that it'll always return a number between 0 and 180. I've done this before. You can work your way through it. If you have any questions, ask about it. Another thing, and then we'll skip this one for now, and then we're just setting the position of the servo. So we can't have any delays in our callback because it's working on a interrupt basis, and you never put any, you want your code as short as possible in here, so you never have like an input or any kind of sleeps in this. So we're not doing any sleeps. That's why I figured we were good to put it in our information in our right in our callback to set the position of the servo. So let's go back up one line, and we got our ticks milliseconds. If you remember, ticks milliseconds is just like a system timer that starts counting at 0 when you power up your Pico, and just keeps counting up from there. And it just a number that we keep track of. And the reason this is 5 is because I started out with this as 1 up here with the increment of 1. And when I would push the button, the servo would move, but it was moving very, very slowly. So I needed to find out how long it was in between the repeat button. If you held it down, how long it was. So rather than talk about that, I can show you. So down in the serial monitor. So we'll run this. And it's waiting for me now. And I can actually show it working, and then we'll talk about the numbers down the thing. So like I say, I can push anything in here and it will ignore it except for the plus and the minus. So I'll hit the plus now, and you can see that we're moving kind of at a good clip but I'm holding it down still, but you can see the numbers in the monitor that it's not going any farther. It's stopping at that, even though I was holding it down. So I can do the same thing on the minus button, going around and subtracting, and it's down to 0. So anyhow, um, like I said, I started out with 1 in here, and I had to increase it to 5 just to get a good movement on our servo. And I was curious why it was doing that. So you can see here that between these two numbers here, that this is milliseconds. So 720 milliseconds, and then it goes to 833. So it's going up by about 1 point or 110 or 108 milliseconds each time. It looks like 108 milliseconds. If you subtract these two, you get 108 milliseconds each time. So that's how long it is in between them. So that means that you're getting about 10 readings every second. And so if you're only moving 1 degree, you're only moving about 10 degrees per second. So it would take 18 seconds to get it done. So that's why I put this at 5. Now we're down to about 3.5 seconds, 3.6 seconds to go from 0 to 180 now, or somewhere about that. So through anyhow, and so that's why this increment is 5. And so anyhow, that's my code and homework and a little extra credit showing how we could put the repeat button to use. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Paul, for all you do. Have a great day, everybody.